This is Hidden Killers Week in Review.
A look back at the most prolific stories of the week.
You're listening to the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski.
Featuring attorney, guest, and former felony prosecutor Eric Fadis.
Donna Adelson, no plea deal for you. And that's where it's sitting. There is a trial that's going to be set for September 30th, where we're going to hear the arguments as to why Donna Adelson is not the conniving, narcissistic, controlling mother that ordered the hit on her former son-in-law because she wanted to be closer to the grandkids and free everyone of this horrible, horrible man, Dan Markel, who wasn't a horrible, horrible man. He was a man who was a dad and just wanted to be there for his kids. But, well, obviously that's not how things went. Charlie Adelson already in prison for the rest of his life, Donna's son. We'll see where this goes. Joining me to discuss, attorney Eric Fadis. Eric, are you surprised that there's no plea deal on this? I mean, both sides saying, no, we're not going to offer it, and we're not going to pursue one or try to get one either.
You know, that's what was pretty striking to me. As a former felony prosecutor, usually you have this big caseload and you identify the most serious cases and the ones for which there is the most evidence that you think are the closest to a slam dunk. And those are the ones on which you offer no plea deal. You tell them, hey, we're going to trial. We're going to try to max this out in terms of a sentence. And that's what the prosecutor is doing here. So that signals to me that the prosecutor thinks they probably have a pretty strong case against Donna Adelson, because if there were glaring weaknesses, you at least look into plea negotiations. And it appears the prosecutor hasn't done that.
Well, and both sides seem to be, I mean, I get how one could play off of the other, where the state's saying we're not going to do it. And then you're like, well, we're not going to ask for one either, because, you know, they're going to want to say that their side is.
We don't want one.
Yeah, we got a pretty good story here, too. But, I mean, how strong of a story do they have in terms of the defense of Donna Adelson? I mean, considering Charlie's already in jail for the rest of his life. I mean, I guess you could have something where, you know, mom was just kind of there in the background making some comments here and there, but not necessarily ordering the hit. But I don't know. I mean, judging by some of those jailhouse phone calls, the 30 plus hours of them between Charlie and Donna, seemingly after everything went down, I don't know. I mean, there's not necessarily the smoking gun in those calls, but there certainly is a lot that kind of leads right up to the line.
Yeah, and to me, if I'm defense on this case, I'm defending Donna Adelson, I'm absolutely wanting to explore a plea deal. This is the type of case where you want to try to broker an agreement because your client is clearly not the principal actor. She didn't carry out the murder. We'll see whether she ordered it or had some involvement in that sense. But you already have Charlie Adelson, who's the pound of flesh the government wants, in prison for life. In this one, you try to broker a deal. You say, hey, you've got the people you want to blame. My client was a peripheral actor at best. Give her something significant and let's all just move on with our lives. But that's not what the defense claims publicly they're doing.
Well, but what I'm wondering about it a little bit too is we still have Harvey out there. We still have Wendy out there, and not wanting to go for a plea deal. Is it so much that they have, the slam dunk case against Donna, or is it more so we need to go through discovery, we need to go through all of this with her in order to give us the breadcrumbs to go to the next person? And if we don't do that, if we just do the plea deal and then wrap this up, we may not get to those places. We may not find out those pieces of information. So is this being more so used as a tool and a catalyst for future charges, possibly against Wendy or against Harvey, in seeing as far as what comes out in that discovery?
Yeah, I feel you, Tony. I think that the prosecution, in part, kind of made this threat of, hey, there's not going to be any plea offer. We're going to take it to the house, and this old woman's going to be in prison the rest of her life unless you come forward and you give us information and you implicate other people and you tell us what you know. And so I think that that's exactly the strategy the prosecutor is using presently. Does it mean there'll never be a plea offer in the case? No, there certainly could be as we get closer to trial. But like you said, I think prosecution's using it as leverage right now to try to broaden their case, bring in more bad actors whom they can try to hold accountable.
If you're advising Wendy Adelson on what to do right now, what would you say?
I would say, shut up, get off the phone. It's so maddening as a defense attorney when you see hours upon hours of jail calls that you know that your client should know are being recorded. And you've told them, hey, do not talk on this phone. And then that turns out to be the central evidence against them at trial. So my main advice would be shut up.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial free.
So you can binge on true crime
Until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.